We are back with another episode of the Dirty D.O podcast. I just want to take a second to remind everyone of the best ways you can stay in touch with me. You can follow on Facebook, the Dirty D.O podcast. I will always post the new episodes there, plus you'll be able to scroll through and listen to the old ones. On YouTube, you can give me a follow if that's what you prefer. You have to search it kind of specific, the @ the Dirty D.O podcast, all one word, each word capitalized, plus the period after the D and the O. And most recently, I can be found on Spotify. Just give a quick search and click that follow button to get the Dirty D.O wherever you prefer listening to your podcasts. Being a relatively new podcast, you may have to search a guest name along with the title. Might just make your search a little bit quicker. As always, thank you for your support and your encouragement as I keep this going. This is episode number 2, and I am very excited for today's guest. This man is truly one of my favorite people to sit down and have a conversation with. He has an unmistakable booming voice. He never shies away from giving you an opinion. His storytelling abilities are second to none. It is my honor to sit down with a living Knoxville, Illinois legend, the one, the only, Mr. Rick Reed. All right, Rick, welcome to the Dirty D.O. It's a pleasure to sit down here with you.
Yeah, it's good to have you, Chad. I'm really excited to do this for you. I like what you're doing.
So as I brainstorm in this, I've been talking about it, at work, like I'm going to start a podcast forever. I always thought of you in the back of my mind for this whole thing because, Rick could be like the reoccurring guest, which you still might be. I don't know. It's just... We usually, when we sit down and BS, it always ends up as a good conversation. So hopefully this is just the first of many conversations we end up having.
I plan on being around for a long time. So, yep, we can do this anytime you want. I'm happy to do it. We always have really good conversation, and we get kind of goofy and crazy.
Oh, yeah, too. Yeah. So as I said in the preview, Rick is a living legend of Knoxville, Illinois. When you hear Knoxville, you think of Carl Stevens, you think of Dave Whiteman, and you think of Rick Reed. If you don't know Carl Stevens, Google it. You'll be impressed. So let's just, start from the beginning of how you became a legend of Knoxville. You didn't always go to Knoxville, right? When did you come to Knoxville?
Well, I started out, I've always been in the Knoxville School District, except for 2 years when my mom and dad got divorced when I was younger, and I went 2 years in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. I went 2 years at junior high there, and then I came back and went to high school here. So really, of my 53 years, I was involved in the school district.
For some reason, I was thinking... You didn't start here till junior high, but you were here, left, came back.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. And you graduated in 90, is that right?
1990, yes.
All right. Which was my sister Dee Dee's class, I
Yes.
think? Yeah.
Yes, I graduated with her. And you might be the only one, besides my 5 grandkids, that think I'm a living legend here.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not the only one. I'm sure people would agree. But so in school, I think you did the big 3, right? You played football, basketball, baseball.
So oddly enough, it's really weird how I got started. So my freshman year, I went out for football, basketball. I did not play baseball my freshman year, which a lot of people don't know that. And then my sophomore and junior years, I played football and baseball and didn't play basketball. Then my senior year, I went out for all 3.
All right. Yeah. So baseball was your main sport, obviously. Did you play college baseball anywhere?
I went to Carl Sandburg in the fall and played one fall season out there. I had other ideas what a good time was, and other than playing baseball, you just get a lot of freedoms when you're in college, and I couldn't handle them. That's what I try to reiterate to kids today, that I live that.
Right.
So you need to take advantage of it.
Yeah. So you, after you, when did you start coaching? I know you had a long coaching career. Was your first coaching gig here in Knoxville?
Yes. It would have been, what is that with, Kenny Lee. Well, actually, I have to go before that. So whenever Sid Wright was a senior, would have been my first year as an assistant basketball coach in the girls program. So
I
5 or 6, 7,
probably
somewhere in there. I don't know.
I lose track of all time.
I'm not one of them guys that, I started in this and ended here. And, yeah.
So you put in 20 years or so.
I would say, 15 to 20.
Yeah, ballpark.
Yeah.
Which it was coaching. Like, obviously, I've known you since I was a little kid, but didn't know you. But I think it was roughly 2013-ish is when we got closer because you stepped in. I was coaching junior high basketball. Situation arose. We needed another coach to finish out. And you stepped in to finish out the last fourth of the season, which is where we got more connected with those guys.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, we really didn't, hang out a lot or anything that until that. And that was a pretty good time, actually.
Yeah, it was, it's interesting. Junior high kids are always interesting when you coach them, but, we got it done. Let's see. So you more recently, I guess not recently, I guess it's been longer than I think, probably 6 years. You've been the head of the grounds here.
Yeah, actually, this was my 6th school year.
Oh, okay.
So once we're done, then it'll be. But yeah, this was the start of my 6th school year this year here at Knoxville. And
this will be your second season not coaching, right?
Yes.
So
correct.
Last season you didn't coach.
Right.
Now going into season 2.
Yep.
It's not season 2, but season 2 not coaching.
Right.
So that position, I know you've gotten razzed a little bit here and there, the janitor type guy, but it's actually a position that like you take pride in, and you can tell that we have somebody who takes pride in it, cares, gives a crap.
I've always been that guy that, I don't think of myself as any different than anybody else. So yeah, it got irritating at times, but I never thought I was better than a custodian, or I never thought I was better than the local garbage man. A lot of people don't know. I picked up garbage in East Galesburg probably for 10 years when I was the maintenance man there. So I never believed I was above anything, and I always took pride in my work, and I always was going to do it 100%. And I think you could even go ask former bosses and they would say that, even though I could be a pain in the ass sometimes.
Right. Just to show, he doesn't like to brag about it, but let's be honest. I don't know how many local grounds guys got their picture in the newspaper, an article of just how good of a grounds guy we got there.
Well, it must have been a bad day for what do I want to say? They must have been short on time at the register mail or didn't have much to print or whatever.
I think I'm still going to get that picture put on a plaque in the hallway somewhere.
No, you're not. No, you're not. That was like my first year, wasn't it, when we had all the snow down the football field?
I think it was just because you were big into coaching here, baseball, and then you came full-time to the district because you were not at the district as a coach for a while.
Right.
And it might have been a slow week, so maybe they needed something. But
yeah, I just was like, oh my God, the kids are going to play in the playoff football game, and an article is in the paper. I was like, oh, brother.
I love it.
I know you did. You enjoyed it way too much.
So you grew up on the other side of the tracks, not the south side, though, the north side, East Galesburg. And you grew up but in close proximity to my grandfather, which I never really knew because I was 3 or something when he passed away. But from what I hear, that was kind of interesting.
Oh, yeah. Larry was a big Cardinal fan, as you are. And I was a Cub fan. So and I wasn't very old. I couldn't even tell you how old I was, maybe 10 or 11, maybe 12, where we really got into it. And we'd not squabble. We just harass each other, and we used to go over there and sit on his big stumps out front of his house that he had trees cut down, and he buried like a vegetable can. You remember the old cans, or they still come in the vegetable cans?
Yeah.
And he buried one of them. And we used to sit out there and talk Cub Cardinal baseball and chip golf balls into that can.
Oh, yeah.
And with a little chew in our mouth.
He got you on chew, didn't he?
And I didn't take it off from there, but every time I went over there, he'd give me a little pinch, and boy, I thought I was a big shot. So that's kind of where my chewing days started, with your grandpa.
That's awesome. So obviously, like I said, I don't know him. My dad's no longer here to ask. Is there any of me or any of him and me?
Yes.
That comes out?
Yes.
Like,
It's a very similar. All three of you are very similar. Your dad, your grandpa, and you are very similar in actions and the thing you did. I don't know if grandpa could be quite as crabby as dad could be at times. I think grandpa was a little more, but maybe that was me.
Right.
And I was a young kid, so he wasn't that way with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I always got along with your dad. I'm one of the few people that would carry on conversations and wasn't terrified of him.
My dad didn't care if you were old or young. He'd get crabby with you. If he was crabby.
Absolutely.
He did not care who you were,
Yes.
what age you were, or what the situation was. If he was angry, you knew it.
Well, and I think that's why kind of me and him hit it off, because we were kind of that. I was kind of that way. And so, yeah, I never had any problems. Sometimes I'd be like, whoa, was he crabby today? But you just went on about your business.
Yeah. Then my Uncle Gary, he was a character. When he died? He died a couple months ago, maybe?
Yeah,
right around New Year's.
Yeah, probably. Yep.
But I went over to that, and in typical Uncle Gary fashion, he was buried in, like, I believe a Cardinals jersey or a shirt.
Yeah, that's perfect for him.
And he had a hat on that said "fuck it" right across the top of it.
That was perfect for him.
I just looked at it like, what are we doing? And that's like my mom said, that's him.
Yes,
like,
100%.
That is him.
I grew up next to him. I mean, my whole life he lived there. He moved in shortly after my mom and dad had me, I believe. And I grew up next to him. Speaking of living legends, he was a living legend.
But not for the right reasons.
Not for the right reasons, but
he was from my understanding, the bar scene legend.
Oh boy,
fist fighting legend.
Yes, he liked to throw them back.
Oh man, so
a little crazy.
Shifting gears just a little bit. We've had our share of road trips to games, sporting events, this and that.
Yep.
I always remember we went to Princeville, watched the boys basketball, and I'm 98% of the people listening to this know who you are and how you are.
Right.
And I'll never forget, we're sitting right at midcourt, and you said something to the official about a call. You said it to me about him, and he turned and looked at you, and you just looked at him and said, don't look at me.
I said, don't look at me, keep reffing.
Turn around and pay it. And I'm just like, we're going to get kicked out like first quarter of this game, which we didn't. But
I do remember that. I also remember us going up to, was it Anawan?
Yeah,
Kewanee. And I remember we pulled in there, and we seen Anawan on the field, and we're like, man, they're big.
Yeah.
And then that
Lena Winslow
walked out. We're like,
and it's like the freaking Bears walking out there. And it's like,
I tell that story all the time when we talk about Lena Winslow. I'm like, holy God, look how big they are.
Yeah, and that was the year they won it all, right?
Yeah,
but like it was.
Remember they moved that defensive lineman to halfback, and he jetted down the sideline.
I mean, obviously, I'm not a big tough guy, but those dudes terrified me to stand there and watch it.
That was pretty impressive for a 1A football school.
Yeah, and what's crazy is it's that way every time.
I know,
and it's crazy.
Man, if you could bottle that up and bring it back.
We just like, the kids wrestle like they're that way in wrestling. I mean, those dudes wrestle like Leroy wrestle, but like it's weird how that correlation is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Like
it is.
A lot of the guys you see on a football field, they're out there rolling, but maybe one day we'll figure it out. We went to, that 3-hour trip to Bismarck, Henning in the 80-mile-an-hour winds.
And it wouldn't
cold.
Spit snow? I think it spit snow on the way down or something.
So we go to playoffs, Bismarck, Henning, is that 2.5, 3 hours?
Probably.
Over in Indiana, essentially.
Yeah, right to it, yep.
So we lucked out and got to sit up in the booth to record.
Yeah, that was all wide open.
Yeah, so still cold.
Right.
But, our booth, we're in our own rooms. We get up there, and this is just one big room.
Yes.
And it's us two, one of our students who was taping on the iPad.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
And Ritz and Wash, our coaches.
Right.
Now, like I said, wide open room. Anyways, game got heated.
Yes.
Got intense. We take the lead. The game is essentially over. We onside kick it.
Late.
When we didn't need to. But at the same time, their return man was dangerous.
Was dangerous.
So we had to.
Right.
But it did not go well.
No.
And our little buddy.
Yeah.
We'll just leave him as our little buddy.
He ought to know who we're...
Decides to pop off in that press box.
And needless to say, it was like 12 to 3. Well,
and they had their media guys, their coaching staff, their scoreboard, their old timers, and our buddy pops off with some language.
Yeah.
And like basically what a scumbag place this was, and then leaves.
Yeah, we're the only two left standing.
And we're sitting there with a room full of 10 dudes ready to fight.
Yes.
And I just remember.
Yeah,
I remember you looked at me and said, "Look, if he just got our butts whipped, we're walking down there and we're going to punch him in the mouth."
Yeah, I said we're going to even this back up.
But we skedaddled right out of there pretty quick.
I mean, you know how it gets. Everybody gets huffy during
and
that
I get
time.
it, but and he was fired up, but at the same time, he probably crossed a little line.
He did, especially when you're the visitors. But the one thing that I'll give you, the one thing that was interesting is at the beginning of that game, you remember, didn't they rip off a big run in that game?
Oh, they were talking crap.
And they were hooting and hollering and talking crap and all that. So then, of course, when we started doing it, then our little buddy had to get hooting and hollering. And it's just hard to do that when you're in the visitors press box.
Oh, yeah. It's, I thought we were going to find our way right out of that.
I always remember
we didn't have to.
I always remember the ride home. Do you remember the ride home? When you bragged up Big Steakhouse?
Oh, yeah. So I have that down. So Rick and I have debated for years. He's a big Galena guy. And Log Cabin Steakhouse, he said, is the best steak in America.
Well, one of them. Yeah.
He's also a big Texas Roadhouse fan, which I'm not saying either place is bad.
Right.
But to me, Texas Roadhouse is predictable. Not bad.
That's a pretty good. Yeah, I like that. That's true.
I went with the wife right before the twins were born. We went to Galena. And I'm like, we got to go to this log cabin. Rick brags this place up, and we get this stinking flaming cheese thing, which was not that great.
Yeah, I was never a big fan of that either.
And I was like, what do I want? So I get I don't know if it's a common, like the steak plus the pork chop, like the combo.
Oh, you got the combo, yeah.
And it wasn't gross, but I'm like, no, this has nothing on Longhorn Steakhouse. Nothing. So Rick's never been to Longhorn. Anyways, we're coming home from Bismarck Henning. We're rolling through Champaign. And I said, we're going to Longhorn Steakhouse. It's right here. And I'm all excited. We get there, and I got to say, it was the worst Longhorn Steakhouse experience I've had.
Yeah, it was ever. My steak was I ordered it medium, and I got it crispy done. It was like a hockey puck.
The only thing they got right was the beer was pretty cold.
Yeah, that was the whole. Everything else was a mess. And I want you to know too that I may have introduced that restaurant, Log Cabin Steakhouse, to 390 people in my life, and Chad Clevenger's the only one that thought, it's just okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, it wasn't gross,
phenomenal, man.
But it was not as good as Longhorn, with the exception of that day.
Well, I will never know that again because I've never stepped back into Longhorn. And it's funny because I have to go to Peoria quite a bit now. And if we go in the
back, guys need to swing through Longhorn.
No, if we go the back way, my wife will say there's Longhorn. And I've probably told her that same story 100 times. I'm not going there.
Oh, I'm going to get you back. I've not had a bad experience at the Peoria one.
Yeah, I've never been to that one. But I love steak.
But yeah, like I said, Texas Roadhouse, I mean, if it wasn't for their rolls and butter or whatever.
I like their cheese fries with ranch dressing.
Yeah, it's good stuff. But anyways, yeah, so I lost. I did not help my debate whatsoever. The Champagne, Longhorn, I'm sure you guys are a great establishment. It could have just been an off day, but you really let me down.
Yeah, it was.
I actually told, because we were in Champaign this weekend for state wrestling. I actually told the wife, I go, that's the Longhorn I took Rick to, and it screwed me. Like, it screwed me.
Yeah, it wasn't very good. Not that day. It must have been a bad day.
Shoot. Rick is a passionate person when he has an opinion. He does not care if your opinion matches his opinion. He doesn't care if you're good friends with him. He'll let you know, and you'll think he hates you with a passion, but he doesn't. Sometimes he might, I guess, not if you're a good friend. But just not trying to strike a chord, but how do you feel about our current political situations of the country?
Well, it just makes me shake my head. And, I definitely have friends on the other side that, believe different than I do. And I really don't have any problem with that. I just think it's a sad society today when we go, and I'm not saying here in Knoxville because I don't think it'd go to that, but I think it's a possibility. When you go to the polling place and, you could say, hey, you're a Republican, who you vote for, and, you could tell them Republican or Democrat either way. And it'd be like, you'd harass each other a little bit, and it'd be on to that. Now I believe that could turn into like war games and stupid shit like that.
It's crazy.
And it drives me nuts like that. I just, the situation going on political, I mean, I guess when I was a young man, I wouldn't have thought any of that. So I read into a lot of that stuff. And I'm not saying, who's totally right, who's totally wrong. I think both sides have a lot of problems.
Oh, yeah.
But when I wake up in the morning, and we'll probably discuss this later, and I see one of the things that the new administration has cut is cancer research, and it's actually being held up by a judge, the last I knew. But when you get an administration that believes in cutting in cancer research and healthcare and stuff like that, I have a real serious problem with it, and I'm compassionate about that. And you'll hear more later about why I would be compassionate about that, but that really strikes a nerve with me.
Yeah, so that's my thing. I'm not saying I mean, everybody knows I'm not a fan or supporter of, who's in.
Me neither.
But at the same time, I want them to do great.
Absolutely.
And some of the stuff they're digging up, I hope, is good stuff. Like if there's all the you said or whatever money or talking about or whatever, I obviously don't know it greatly, but I'm sure a lot of that is legitimate, what is going on. But like you said, some of this research stuff that's being cut and this, to me, it's just odd. I don't care if you cut waste in government. I think everybody believes there's waste in the government, but you also have to have a plan of what you're doing. And people on that side will tell you bold-faced, oh, yeah, man, he had a plan. He had no plan because he fired people, and then they had to rehire him and couldn't find them to rehire. So I'm not saying what they're doing wasteful, cutting some of the waste. I have no problem with that. But have a plan. And don't be so... non-compassionate or whatever. Right.
Don't be so like that. I mean, people that I hang out with, people that you hang out with, I think we're compassionate people, but I'm a helper. I like helping people. So when a lot of my friends aren't like that. But so when it comes to the government wanting to help people, I have no problem with that. I mean, I've always been that way. I mean, when I was young, I was kind of stupid in other ways, but I've always been passionate. And I think if you're helping people, yes, do we give them free rides and all that at times? Absolutely, 100%. But I'm more in favor of helping people than not. And yes, that's probably gullible, I guess, but that's just how I am.
But so here, like you said earlier, now you used to be able to razz a Democrat to Republican, Democrat, but now it's now it turns violent.
Oh,
on both sides,
absolutely.
People get way bent out of shape. But here's what bothers me about stuff is I posed a question on Facebook.
Oh, I've seen that.
What benefit do we get of the renaming of the Gulf of Mexico? And that, honestly, I guess the way I worded it, I could see how people thought oh, you're just being an idiot. But it's an honest question. I never got an honest answer without somebody saying, oh, yeah, but Joe Biden, like, I'm not saying Joe Biden was good. I'm not saying all that money we sent over there was a great idea whatsoever, because it wasn't.
Right.
My question is, just the way like Republicans say Democrats overreact and get snowflakey and defensive, it's vice versa. It's both ways. And I hate when both sides don't see that they're doing it. But is there a benefit, one, to renaming that? Two, if anybody can just rename it, why can't Germany say, you know what? I think this week it's the Gulf of Germany. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense. If there's a benefit to it, great. But can it be that easy just to rename body of water?
I was watching some, I don't even remember what it was, and I see that Mexico and who else would be out there with them? Oh, I don't even remember who it was, but they're filing petitions with the court because they own like the majority of it.
Yeah, I know. And I looked something up, and I know like the seabed, the Gulf bed, there's I don't know if it's an invisible line. Like essentially,
I'm sure it is.
America can drill on this side, but not here.
Right.
I don't know if it's an unwritten rule. Now, so if that benefits the renaming of it, do we now get to do whatever we want? But like I said, if that's the case, how can we just say, we're just going to do it? I mean, it's whatever. I don't know the ins and outs. I really don't.
You know, the only thing I didn't like about it, it's always been the Gulf of Mexico in my history, and that's what
I hated the most is a few people got snippy, like, oh yeah, well Joe Biden did this. Well, that's just like saying, explain why you don't like Donald Trump without saying, or whatever, why you like Joe Biden without saying anything. I don't know, but like, it was an honest question. And the Democrats are just as guilty.
Absolutely.
Oh, why is Joe Biden good? Well, Donald Trump. No, that's not an answer.
Right.
Like, both sides, in my opinion, need to like open their eyes. But like the other thing, and I never believed, like on day one, your groceries are going down, inflation's going to be down. I know.
I do post that a lot just because it irritates me.
But like,
how tangent
I
people
knew
get.
He can't just make that happen, and that's not to his fault.
No.
But don't say it.
That's my point with it. I don't care. I knew none of that was, you couldn't believe any of that. That just ain't going to happen. That has nothing to do with it.
No matter who it is.
No, it doesn't. But what frustrates me with it is he can say the goddamn sky's purple, and they'll go, yeah, it is, if you really looked at it closely.
Right.
That's what irritates me. It's the same way, and I'm just using it, this administration. It's the same way with the other administrations. That's just, I mean, I'm one of these people that when the Democrats suck, I'll tell you the Democrats suck.
Absolutely.
I don't make an excuse. I thought the last 2 years, the 4 years wasn't very good.
No, not at all.
But it wasn't in the Democrats, it wasn't as bad as the other side, but it's that way on both sides. Mm-hmm. When they're running for, elections.
Oh, I get it. You're going to say what people want to hear. Yes. But the problem is, it's okay to admit, whether it's political or not, that, hey, I still support this guy, but Jesus, come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
But the problem is, it's kind of like they'll go to the death over this.
Oh, I know.
And I know. And there's people, like we said, that'll go to the death for Joe Biden. Like, stop it. Like,
quit. Stop it. Because we're in all honesty, where you live where we do, in middle America is what I call it, there's not either side overly involved in what we want.
Correct.
It's a lot of big business that runs on both sides, and people just get, I think if you'd really just take your eyes off of it, and just think about just sitting down at home. And I had a buddy tell me this years ago. His name was Van White. And he said, I just want you to go home, because we used to argue Democrat, Republican. He was a Democrat. I was a Republican at the time.
Yeah.
And I can't say that I'm Democrat or Republican, really, because I would vote for the best guy either way. It wouldn't matter to me. But anyway, he goes, I just want you to go home and think about some of the stuff that you think's really happening and go, come on, man, can that really be going on? You know what I mean?
Right.
And then, common sense sets in, and you're like, yeah, that's pretty stupid that I believe that. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just,
people just get caught up in it.
They do.
What sucks is it's truly tearing everything apart. Like it's a bad situation.
I'm telling you, I've been on this planet 53 years, man. And I've never seen it so divided in politics. Maybe that's because I can go on social media and I can be a big shot and spew off whatever the hell I want to spew off.
Right.
You know, and that's okay now. Maybe this all went on when I was a kid and you seen more active protest and stuff that you know, I mean, you still see that, but maybe that's what it was then. And you just don't notice that. Social media has made a platform for everybody.
Right.
And I don't know that I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. And I think social media is the downfall, and I'm on it, and I participate at times, and it's like, but it is the downfall of our society.
Yeah, you
100%.
I don't know if you remember,
as I'm on a social media platform right now.
I don't know if you know, you just think about it. You know, the world's come to an end, and this year, remember that used to go around all the time. And this is going to kill us. Well, I still believe what's going to kill us ultimately is the computers. Yeah. Look how bad it's. You know what I mean? Social media's dividing us now.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So, moving on from that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Before we could probably go on for like 2 hours.
Oh, I could.
So you, like I said, you go to Galena a lot. You go, I think, yearly for your anniversary, right?
Absolutely.
That's your Lisa's place.
Yep.
Yeah. So this October, you leave, and I believe your anniversary is the 18th,
yep.
if I remember right?
Yep.
So my phone rings on the 18th.
I left the 17th.
Yes. My phone rings on the 18th.
Yes.
I figured you were gambling.
Yes.
Because
I had been, of course.
You're just a lucky son of a bitch sometimes when it comes to gambling. Well, at least you tell me all the lucky stories.
Well, the good gamblers only tell you what they win. Yeah. They never tell you what they lose.
And so phone rings. I said, what'd you do? Just win like 12 grand again, this and that? And I don't even know, whatever. And no, that's not what you called. So you called to tell me something I wasn't expecting. And like, I still don't even know how I reacted. It was probably like, I won't say inappropriate, but probably, what do you say?
Right.
But anyways, answer the phone and you proceed to tell me you weren't feeling well. You went into the hospital up there for what you didn't know what.
Right.
And you leave the hospital with the initial thought of, oh shit.
Yes.
You were full of cancer.
Correct.
Essentially everywhere.
Correct.
And you know, I don't even remember what you said because I just kept saying like, are you kidding me? Like seriously, are you kidding? Like seriously?
So your response was, and it wasn't different. Yeah, they're different responses, but they're similar and the same. I remember you just said, "What the fuck?"
Right.
Pardon my language. That's what you said to me, and I went up the 17th to Galena. We went and did a little gambling and drank a little bit that night. And I'd been for a couple weeks feeling like I'd pulled a muscle in my chest is what I'd went to. And the next day, the 18th on my anniversary, I couldn't hardly get out of bed. My wife was having to help pull me out of bed because it hurt my chest area. So we go to the ER there. Basically, we didn't think it was heart problems, but we figured I had a pulled muscle. Well, then the doctor comes in and tells me, yeah, you have, at that time he said metastatic cancer, which if people know what that is, it's cancer that is spread throughout your body. And that was really a punch in the gut. I mean, I don't know.
So it's like you left on a Thursday to go to Galena.
Yes.
Wednesday.
Yes.
You were working a full-time job.
Yep.
And just like, God, I'm getting old. I'm getting sore.
I'd been to baseball practice at Sandberg all week.
Yeah, and like, I remember we'd laugh and like, God, don't make me laugh. My hurt. Like, you know. And then literally in a snap of a finger, you go from a full-time job to at initial reaction, because that's what I would do too. And this is what I did when you called, like thinking it's grim. That's it.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. Because I will tell you this. When I went So when I got that diagnosis, of course, my wife was a hero, man. She was on the phone in seconds with Mayo Clinic and this, that, and the other. Because we're not stupid. We know metastatic, man, is not good. Mm-hmm. I came home from Galena, Dubuque, that area. I came home that Saturday. And from that Wednesday when I was there, that whatever day, Thursday, I got diagnosed. So I wanted to get home because Quentin played football that Saturday. I wanted to get home and see that. But anyway, from that point to the time, which was 10 days later, I went to Mayo Clinic. I thought they were going to tell me, dude, you're going to die.
I remember you told Lisa, like, she wanted to come home, and you're like, this is probably our last time here. But then you told me, like, Quentin's last game is Saturday. This was Friday we talked.
Right.
And I mean, you told me, like, this might be the last time I see him play.
Right, 100%.
And obviously, we're sitting here having this conversation, like, but the initial shock, you can't help but think, like, oh, shit. Like,
when the doctor tells you that not only the metastatic part, but when he tells you that he would suggest that it was stage 4. Mm-hmm. I mean, I watch a lot of TV and seen a lot of film, I'm just like, oh boy.
And it started in your kidneys, is that right?
Yes.
So it was in your kidneys, spine.
So they diagnosed me with kidney cancer. When you have kidney cancer, there's no like, it's really, unless they stumble across it, it's hard to diagnose it ahead of time. And they basically stumbled across mine.
Right.
But the problem was that pulled muscle didn't happen, before, so they could have chest x-rayed me and seen that. And so, they told me that actually with the kidney cancer, the doctor at Mayo Clinic he's like, you might be having this, just makes you shake your head. Super nice guy. One of the unluckiest people that I've seen to come in with cancer like this, considering my age, my weight, my health, nothing had ever been wrong. He basically told me that when everybody gets cancer cells in their body at times. Your immune system fights them off, right? He said, he basically told me in this way that my immune system was asleep and missed that cancer cell, which it really, with your health, it's never done very often. Mm-hmm. And he said, you may have lived with this for years.
Yeah, and that's what's crazy. But to me, it's like, not that you want anybody to get it, but it's like, and this might sound selfish, but like, it's unfair. And I'm not even sitting in your shoes. You probably have a different take on it now, but like for us who are close to you, like, why? Like, it's unfair. But it's not about fair, I guess. It's like a roll of the dice. I don't know.
Well, that's the one thing that I always I go back to, and coaching. I can go back to coaching for almost all my analysis of things, and I remember I've always told my kids, and my kids that I coach, and then my kids that I have, and my older grandson, that life isn't fair. Right. You have to play the cards you're dealt, and sometimes it's not fun. Right. But so when I first got diagnosed, I'm telling you, I went through it, and at times I still go through a hard time. It isn't fair, but I also look at it this way, that it's not fair to every other person that has cancer. And I have a whole new outlook on life in general. And cancer's created that. Cancer's a bad word. And I've learned a lot about cancer. I would share it with people. The one thing my wife told me is, man, I can't believe that you're calling your friends and telling them that, because she's a private person standing there. And I just told her that day standing is funny because I was standing out. She was inside the casino, and she was on the phone with Mayo Clinic in the lounge area. I'm outside of the casino. It was a nice day, and I'm standing out there, and I'm calling my friends, and she just didn't understand that. And I said, I need them.
Right.
I need them. I don't know, one of them might make me laugh. I need them.
Yeah, I'd been the same way. Like, what do you do? I don't know. But like when you told me, you're like, I'm not telling anybody. So I
hadn't told my kids yet.
Well, right, and I got kind of selfish, and I'm sitting here. I know, like, the bell was ringing, class was coming in. I ring down to Heb's room. I said, "Meet me in the office, coach's office." I go get Ritz. I said, "Get in your office." And I didn't like, "What's going on? What's going on?" And like, I couldn't just hold it.
Right.
So like, here we are, 3 grown men sitting in and like, it was all I could do to get it out.
Right, 100%.
And then we have to sit there and cope for a minute. And I was like, I apologize for springing it on you, but like, I can't hold on to it. And it's just,
it was kind of selfish.
but it's like you
tell you that because
like you told your friend, like, and I guess I've did the same thing, and I knew they weren't going to go call people.
Right. And
but
I told my immediate friends that are in the top of my contact list, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It ain't like, I knew that once my kids found out, because I hadn't got a hold of I think it was our middle son. I don't think we'd got a hold of him. He lives in the Quad. Not saying it ever got to him, but I would have felt bad.
You didn't want it to. Without,
right. So I knew that I could tell my immediate friends. It wasn't like they were going to call him up, and then I knew the immediate friends would tell all my friends. And I always consider a lot of my friends immediate friends, which that may not be the case, but I had to tell people. I talked to one of my best friends on the phone probably 20 minutes, and he cried the entire time, and so did I, man.
Yeah,
we just didn't know what was happening. I was scared to death. I'm still scared. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm still scared. But I try to deal with it different now that I want to be that guy that in 15 years from now, me and you're on this podcast, if hopefully you still got it going, and I hope we're laughing and not but making fun of the fact that I thought I was going to die, you know what I mean?
Right.
And there's no guarantees. There's no doctor that's told me you're going to live 6 months, and there's no doctor that told me you're going to live 15 years.
Right.
You just battle like crazy, and tell my wife I've never been happier to get up every single day.
Oh, yeah.
When I wake up, I'm happy that I woke up.
Right.
Not that I'm going to die, but it gets to the point when you fight cancer, and it's with every cancer patient. It ain't just me. It just so happens we know me.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You know what I mean? We know me.
Right.
And you just taking a whole different perspective. And I just tell my wife that as long as I get up, I feel good, somewhat good. I'm not telling you I don't feel like I did before. Mm-hmm. Maybe I do. Maybe all them aches and pains were telling me years ago to get it done. But yeah, I just, the one thing that's hard with me right now is it's wintertime. There's a lot of stuff going around the school, like flus and stuff like that. And what affects me more than anything is I can't work. Mm-hmm. And my kids try to talk me into all the time. Hey, man, you've worked 30 years, man. We're worried about your health. And I get that. I'm too. My health's 100% what I'm behind. But when I don't get to go down in the coach's office for, 30 minutes in the morning when I worked, or I don't get to go, one of my favorite things is to plow snow. Right. I take pride in that. Well, thank God we haven't had a lot, but there's been and actually I've been released if I feel like it, I can do some of that stuff now, but I'm still trying to build my energy back up. I'm going to start doing some light stuff around the school here in probably the next couple of weeks and just see how it goes. Cause the doctor told me that I'm susceptible to fractures. So she don't want me until we get going on the right track. She don't want me to risk fracturing anything. And so she gave me the okay to do some light duty stuff. And I've kind of lined it up with the superintendent, different things I can do. Mm-hmm. But I also have to go to the doctor Monday for, he'll send me in a little machine and what they're trying to do right now is they're trying to fight the bone cancer, the cancer that's spread into my bones. They're trying to fight that. And so there's another spot that he might want to radiate. They've done some radiation on me, so we'll have to see how that plays out before I can do some light duty stuff. Yeah. But it just kills me when I can't hang out. I mean, I still hang out with my friends. I mean, I'm home all the time.
Right.
I was always on the go, man.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you went from, hey, you want to go to Legion to, I can't risk going anywhere and get sick.
Right.
Like, it's just boom.
And I think I'm a little more. I mean, they've never told me once to wear a mask.
Right.
They've never told me to avoid crowds. But they also told me, don't promote it. Mm-hmm. Don't go down to the school 7 days a week and influenza's running wild.
Yeah. And it's been, the illness in that school has been crazy this winter.
Yeah, so that's why. I can't go to I can go to the Legion, hang out. They really don't want me drinking. And
right.
She said I could have a beer or two, but you know me, that ain't no fun.
Yeah. And typically, anytime I've had a beer with you, we don't just sip on one.
Right. Yeah.
But I think a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, you did get some good news. Some was smaller or gone even.
I did. I did. So I went in. So I have to take treatments every 3 weeks, and I have to take a different treatment every 3 months. And then when that gets done, after, what's it been now, 4 months probably since. Yeah. So every 3 months I go in and have to have a nuclear bone scan. I have to have a CT scan and an X-ray, I believe. And when we went in and did the CT had shown that the tumor on my kidney was basically the size of my kidney. I mean, they said, holy cow, that's big. It had shrunk 2 millimeters, I think it was, which is really encouraging. Right. And some of the tumors in my lungs had either shrunk or disappeared completely, but they were concerned about the bone cancer hadn't done enough that they'd liked. So that's why they sent me for some radiation to help this immunotherapy I'm taking, help promote that, to help with that and relieve some pain. I've been having a little pain in my, kind of lower back hips area, which there's cancer in both of those. So they've been doing that. So they're hoping with that. So I did get some good news. And I'm telling you, when you're in a position like me, I don't even know sometimes if you want to hear the bad news. My wife takes that in, because she keeps me, grounded, because she don't want me to get too excited. But I mean, when I go to the doctor, I go way more than I ever wanted to go to. I probably went more to the doctor in the last 3 months than I ever in my life. Right. And so anytime I go there and there isn't something new and, hey, you got to do this. I mean, I've had, some gamma knife. It's a laser surgery on your brain. And then I had some when you don't have something new come up, you're like, oh, victory.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, so what I don't like, and when this first went on, we came over and I said this, I believe, this is just my own little conspiracy theory, that there's too much money in it, that all the stuff we can do, that there's not treatments and cures. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But like the methadone stuff, you can get 100 tablets for like $20 if you're addicted to opioids. Right. And you told me one time, and I don't know if you can tell me again, you take how many pills a day? I take 2 pills. I can't even remember what the milligrams are. And I know this isn't out of your pocket. It's covered, but how much are those pills? $30,000 a month. A month. But you can get 100 methadone pills if you're addicted to opioids for $20. That's just one place I looked at. That could be a little inaccurate, but to me, that's flawed. Oh. I mean, the people that are addicted to opioids, not good. They made that choice, or maybe they didn't make the choice, but do you remember when we were talking about big business and corporate greed and all that? Yeah. You have to throw that in there. You have to. People don't want to talk about it. It's true, man. You ever listen to, and you have, I think you may have been the one who told me about Cuban. Oh, Mark Cuban.
Mark Cuban. Did you
Oh,
tell
yeah.
me?
Yeah.
He's going to straighten it out over time.
Yeah, so like a lot of people on our opposite side of it, oh, Mark Cuban's crazy. Like, no, like Mark Cuban will tell you there's a lot of stuff he agrees with, like with Donald Trump, a lot of stuff. But there's some stuff like, for example, $30,000 a month for something, if you don't take, you will die. I mean, that's the way it is.
100%.
At no choice of your own, or hey, $20, we'll give you 100 methadone pills that are going to help you with your opioid addiction. Now, I also understand people might get addicted to opioids, not on purpose. I don't know how it works, but that's flawed, and that's criminal.
It is criminal.
It's criminal from the top down. If there was no money in it, it would cost you $10, but there's too much. It doesn't make sense.
Well, the one thing that I always try to stay, and like I told you, man, I had some theories, and I've always had theories of my own, and I've not been a big conspiracy theory guy. I mean, there are some conspiracies I think could be going on with different things, but when I think of conspiracy and cancer, I'm not into that. And the reason I tell you this, and I actually told a friend of mine this not too long ago, he was kind of like, yeah, that makes sense. There are some cures for cancer, just depending what you have.
Right.
So if you had the ultimate cure for cancer and you were the dude that had it, wouldn't you want that to be everywhere?
You would think.
That's why, ego plays too big a part in our society,
right,
that would be out everywhere. And the one thing that people have to remember is I don't believe, and I was told by a doctor, a big-time cancer doctor at Mayo Clinic, he don't believe there will ever be, we hand a pill to somebody and they're cured of cancer.
Right.
Too many types. He said, you're never going to be able to fight that cancer the same way you fight that cancer. I'm taking immunotherapies. Most people take chemotherapy instead. I've not had to do any chemotherapy. I've done some radiation. I do immunotherapies. Yes, there have been people that lived a long time on immunotherapies, and there's been people that haven't. They believe that it's getting better. They believe with me being young, that plays a part. Healthy, that plays a part. So I don't know that there'll ever be, I'm not into I think if you have enough money,
right.
I always believe that with AIDS, because I always looked at Magic Johnson, living forever, still alive today. I don't believe it's that same. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe I'm naive because I have cancer.
Right.
But you'd think I'd be naive the other way, saying, yeah, they got a cure and they just won't give it to me.
Like I said, I hope I'm wrong
Yes.
that it's a conspiracy, but it's just hard to believe. But
I just think
I don't know enough about it.
I just think too much. It's funny, and I was the same way, and not like you, because I don't think you're a big conspiracy guy. I don't think. But when I was younger, probably my 20s, lower 30s, I was into every conspiracy, and I was into this, like the government, this and that. And then when you really sit down in that dark room by yourself and you think, boy, that's pretty fucking stupid.
Right.
What are you thinking?
Right.
Everybody doesn't have it out for everybody. Believe it or not, there are good people in this. And believe it or not, if it was cancer related, them dudes would be spooning all over because they'd be celebrating it.
Right.
Now there is a cocktail for AIDS.
Right.
But they would be celebrating it like there's no tomorrow. I still believe, maybe I'm naive to my country. I still believe my country would brag about that. And
I agree.
And turn flips.
I agree. So you touched on earlier. So having, in the blink of an eye, your life completely change. What do you pass on to others that aren't sitting in your shoes, how they should take how should they approach each day?
Well, the one thing, and it's funny because me and my wife talk about it all the time, and I think it might have been one of the first things. So when we got the diagnosis, we left the emergency room, we got in the car. I think I might have still been driving. No, she started driving because they gave me some pain medication. But anyway, one of the first things she said to me, and it stuck with me, was, I'm glad you lived every day like it was your last. Because that's how I always told her, I lived my days to the fullest, because you're not guaranteed. Just like this, Chad, and this isn't nothing that I want to happen to you. I have stage 4 cancer, right?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean you won't die before me.
I know.
And that's when I put it in perspective, and my wife really helps me with that a lot, hey, we're going to battle this and that. So I just put it in perspective, and I try to tell my friends, the only thing I tell my friends different now is I tell them, I wish you'd please get checked up, have checkups.
Yeah.
Because, and I could have had a checkup and probably would have caught up my blood labs. Wasn't very in tune with doing that. My wife used to get on me all the time being in the medical field. I encourage my friends to do that more now. And I just give them advice, hey man, maybe mine would have been prevented, and if one friend listens and doesn't fall in to my category, then I feel it was a success. Yeah. But I can tell you this, it's baffling.
No, I bet. But I think I've been on a rotation every 3 months, my blood work, simply because my dad was my dad and I'm extremely unhealthy.
Right.
However, my last labs were in my entire life the greatest they've ever been.
So well, that's good because that's what you want. And believe it or not, I've heard stuff I didn't even know it was part of your body, like chemicals and you know what I mean? And with me having stage 4 cancer, they're elated where all my blood work is. There's a few things that are off a little bit, but nothing that they're like, oh my God, they're like that. So that makes a difference. Let me ask you this. How do you take life differently or act differently since I have cancer?
So especially right after, we talked, like I told my wife, I'm like, here's the deal. Like last summer, my back hurt so bad I couldn't hardly stand up. Rick had back pain.
Down in my sciatic nerve.
So then I started thinking like, what is it? I chalked it up to riding a mower all summer.
Me too.
I'm like, okay, probably. But then I'm like, so this is here, I think this is funny. I have a little knot right here on top of my ear.
So why?
And it hurts.
It's from mowing in the sun.
It hurts. And like, you've probably seen me like rubbing it as you're talking. It doesn't hurt as bad as it did this morning or the last week. But then I'm having my mom look at it, my wife, like, does that look like it could be like skin cancer? Because I'm in the sun all day, every day. And of course, and she's not wrong. Elizabeth's always like, I told you wear a hat, cover your ears, blah, blah, blah.
I've heard it for 4 years.
And like, she's not wrong, but at the same time, I don't do it. And
I've actually gotten a little better about that.
I started off every season, I put suntan stuff
I do
on
that
my
every
ears.
day.
But then week 2, I don't the rest of the year. But yeah, so back to your question you asked me, it gets brought up like, it just puts it in perspective. Like I know I'm 10 years younger than you, but you're not old.
Right.
I'm not old. But when I've been on cholesterol medicine for probably, I'm just going to ballpark 10 years because like my cholesterol was frightening.
Right.
And the doctor told me then, you either figure it out on your own or get on medicine. Because he said, it's not whether you have a heart attack by 40, it's how big will it be?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. But then like that wears off, like, it's fine. But yeah, it definitely gets brought up. And like sometimes I feel bad, like when you were first, finding out, learning everything, going through stuff, like selfishly, I stayed away kind of on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Just because like that's not the Rick from 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And it's like when we hung out 2 weeks ago, it's like, it was just like same way like when my dad was approaching the end. And I knew, I told everybody like, when the time comes, I'll be angry I didn't do it.
Right.
Go over more.
Right.
But it was hard to go over there and him not really know who I was. Him not, like, it wasn't him.
Right.
And like, obviously you're still you, but it's like I said, selfishly, I can't say, hey, you want to go to Legion tonight?
Right.
And like, And plus, I mean, my house was sick for like weeks.
Yeah, well,
I wasn't coming around or talking. Like, I didn't even want to talk on the phone if it jumped through the dang thing. But it's like, it definitely, it puts it in perspective. Like, even at school, talking to some of the guys are like, look, you never know. Like, look, you never know.
The one thing I'd always say, and it's kind of funny because you were going into that a little bit, and I was the same way. Don't ignore it. Let me tell you, all them times my wife said, hey, you better go get this and you better go get that. I ignored it. Hey, I feel fine, this, that, and the other. Well, I would just tell people, don't ignore what you have. I'll give you a funny, this ain't even to scare you, Chad. I'll give you a funny story. I've had that lower back problems. Hell, I probably had them since my slow pitch softball playing days and this and there. Well, they found 2 tumors in my vertebrae.
Right.
There were 2 that I had radiated out. But you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that caused any of it. But if you go get looked at, maybe that tunes me into something else.
Yeah, it's just bizarre because everybody said, God, I'm just getting old.
Yeah,
I
used it all the time. I'm getting old. There ain't nothing wrong with me. I feel fine. Well, no, maybe I didn't.
Yeah.
I should have been a big tip-off when I was coming home the last 3 weeks. If I wasn't going to practice, we had an off day from practice, I would sleep from the time I got home at 1 o'clock in the afternoon till my wife got home, eat supper, and go back to bed.
Right.
But I ignored that.
Yeah, because it's just getting old. Getting tired.
My wife said, you look like you've aged. It's probably when it hit home when she told me I aged 30 years and 10 months. I can't even remember what she said. Just like, really? And she's like, yeah, you've aged.
Right.
And I can see it in your face and your body and neck.
Well, so that's the other thing. Like, so I would see you more often than Ritz would. And when I told Ritz, he goes, I thought something was wrong by looking at him. I'm like, but I saw you, I won't say every day, but almost every day. So I'm like, yeah, I think about it, I guess, but
It's funny. Yeah. One of the teachers in Knoxville, I think it may have been that Wednesday before I left. If not, it was the Tuesday of the same week. So the last week I worked at the school, I had a teacher walk up to me at lunch. I was walking through there at lunchtime. I'd been out mowing, and I had to go in and talk to Mr. Weedman for something. I don't remember what it was. And he called me over, and he said, are you going through some health issues? And I'm like, no, not that I'm aware of. And then it was like 3 or 4 days later. Yeah.
It's just crazy. So crazy. But anyways, I mean, hopefully, like, my wish for you and everybody around you is you keep getting them goofy tan lines. You're able to get back out on the mower all summer, get the tan lines. We get to go to more games. You get to go to Galena many more anniversaries. I know, like I said, when it first started, we didn't know, like, you didn't know. It was October. You're like, will I be here at Christmas?
Yeah.
You don't know.
No.
And even the doctors didn't know then.
Right.
But hopefully it gets to the point, trips to the Legion can happen again, or, Lisa can blame me for being a bad influence on you again.
I just want to be somewhat healthy. I told my wife that yeah, I'm in some pain. I'm having some I would guess some sciatic nerve pain because they radiated those tumors, but it can take a while for the radiation to work. And I think once it does, it'll relieve some of that. And I have some lower back pain and some shoulder pain right here. And I know it's probably all cancer related. I told her I could live 25 years like this. I mean, it's not.
Right.
But I'd prefer not to.
Yeah.
So the one thing, too, is my family and my friends have been unbelievable in this. I mean, people would tell me all the time, hey, I didn't text you then, right at the beginning, I didn't know what to say. And they talked to me on the phone, I didn't know what to say. And I just tell them all the time, man, if the roles were reversed, I wouldn't know what to say to you either. But I said, when you text me and call me, that keeps me motivated.
Right.
And, I don't know what my purpose in life is, but I sure think it's to live longer than I'm 53 years old. I got a birthday coming up. I mean, hell, at one time I told my wife, I don't know if I'm going to make my birthday.
Right. But yeah, you're definitely, as you know, you're missed around school. You're missed around.
I miss that
around
place.
town. Like, you know, it's just, it is what I think people just, they don't know how to do it. But hopefully here in the near future and long future, that changes. Everything gets more back to normal.
I mean, spring's coming, and, you know, I'm a big baseball guy. I'm an assistant coach at Sandburg. I've been to a few practices. I would like to at least get to where I could go to home games. I probably won't travel this year with them. Maybe late in the year if my health feels better. I probably won't travel, but I'd like to get to that. And
Right.
then, of course, it's going to work out because I won't have the schedule. Then I'd like to get to some baseball games around here. And it just, you know, I told my wife, I went to practice 2 times last week, and I said, it makes me feel alive.
Right.
And I have a purpose when I do that. And sometimes when you lay in the position I'm in, it's easy to lay in that bed all day and not do anything because, for one, you could have some sort of, or you just, that's why I want to go back to work. I want to have a purpose.
Right. Yeah. But I think we'll wrap it up. I appreciate your time. You'll definitely be back on. Like I said, I think you're the perfect reoccurring guest. There's always something to come up with. But hopefully everything turns around, keeps turning around. We all miss you. I miss you. We love you. And we want nothing but the best. And we're looking forward to you being back.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chad. I mean, I believe you could sit down and do this every week and rap 2 hours or an hour about something different every time. I enjoy our conversations. I enjoy you as a friend. I enjoy all my friends, and I appreciate everything that people have done for me in this trying times. It's just sometimes you think about it, you know what, try to do it more. I mean, Ricky Quinn and I had a great conversation, said this is why we need to get together more, man.
Yeah.
Because you don't know when this is going to happen. But I love the school district. I've always loved the school district. I think you know that, and I hope this keeps working for you because this is fun to do.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you all for stopping in on episode 2 of the Dirty D.O. podcast. I have been sitting down with good friend Rick Reed. Episode 3, not sure because I'm still flying by the seat of my pants, but hopefully you're all enjoying it, and we will see you next time. Thank you again, Rick.